Thank you guys for coming in, joining us today. It is also a good experience for us, and since this crisis happened, and all of the companies are shifting towards digital and in communication as well. So we are taking our chance here, and pleasure, guys, talking to you. And yeah, so let's jump in, and I will share my screen. Let me know if you see my screen, Monica.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, so today I will cover some main idea about what is programmatic advertising, what is all about, and how to use it. But before it, I would like to jump into the market coverage that we have as a company, and just to give you some sense of our business activities. So we as a company, we have been operating and working in more than 40 markets already. Originally, we started in Africa markets, and we are very strong in Africa. Later, we expanded into Asia, Southeast Asian markets, Middle East, and for quite some time, European and Russia-speaking markets was our focus. And I know that today we have people from multiple markets, from multiple companies, and during those years, we have been running digital marketing campaigns for the biggest global brands from basically every business to customer oriented sector. For example, Coca-Cola, we have been working with Coca-Cola and running ads for this giant in more than 20 markets. We experience working with FMCG clients, clients for telco industry, device manufacturers, giant pharmaceutical giants like GlaxoSmithKline. So yeah, so I'm saying this just to give you an understanding that just a sense what our markets and what companies we have been privileged to work with. So jumping into agenda. So today I will give you some insights about what is programmatic advertising about. What are the differences between traditional and modern advertising channels, meaning programmatic advertising? I will have a brief look at the benefits of programmatic and how to use them. We will look at some market trends, we will observe some trends, some new trends, what is going on in the market, and I will give you more detailed information about Eskimi programmatic and how you can use it in your business and when it comes to digital marketing. So this is a basically a typical flow, when we talk about programmatic advertising. So on the right side, you have an audience, basically people which are coming, to various publishers like websites, video channels, and apps, basically using their mobile devices or desktop computers. And on the left side, you have an advertiser, companies like Coca-Cola, which are willing to advertise to the audience. And basically, companies, like Coca-Cola, they usually work via agencies, and those agencies, they have partners for different solutions. So DSP, you see that button, and Eskimi basically is a DSP, demand side platform, and we are working with agencies and agencies working with clients. So this is how we are able to run the campaigns for those clients. So basically, we as a platform, we are connected to various ad exchanges, and through ad exchanges, we are connected to supply side platforms, and those platforms are connected to the publishers. So this is, generally speaking, the typical flow from advertiser to the audience. And then the user is coming to, let's say, bbc.com, and if we are running an ad on bbc.com, we receive a request that such user with such device ID from this geolocation and a lot of different aspects about the user, we are receiving a request if we want to advertise on bbc.com to that particular user. And if that user fits in our customer profile for that particular campaign, we are showing an ad to him. And that happens in microseconds, when the user is loading his website. So this is just, generally speaking, how programmatic looks from technical point of view. Of course, we can talk about it in more depth, and but today's topic is just to give you a brief intro about it. So, all this mechanism is being done through real-time bidding auction system. So basically, when the user is coming, there are multiple DSPs at the same time which are bidding for that user, and the user who has the highest bid, generally speaking, wins. And this is how the user is seeing that. So, we have this difficult and complex solution, programmatic advertising, but what it gives us to advertisers and the company. So if you are comparing programmatic to traditional channels, let's say like TV, which is already being considered as traditional channel, or for example offline billboards, like billboards which are located in the cities or somewhere near the road, or any other channel, basically those traditional channels, they have very limited aspect when it comes to understanding and analyzing your campaign results. For example, you're not able to understand how many people actually saw your billboard somewhere near the road or in the city, or how many people saw your ad during the TV commercial time. You are not able to understand what was the most performing audience. I mean, people who are willing to know more about your product, or you're not able to understand the return on investment. So basically, you're just investing blindly. And in some cases, it works, and in some cases, it doesn't. But it just doesn't give you some results about the campaign, and you're not able to understand if the campaign was successful after all, or why it was successful, or how to make it more successful. So programmatic advertising allows us to target and retarget users, which are engaging in your ads. For example, you are able to see the results in real time, like how many people saw your ad in last hour, in last day, and also you're able to understand the return on investment. So that's probably the key aspect of it. Because, for example, you are investing 5,000 euros for a 1-month campaign on advertising through programmatic channels, and you are able to understand how many people saw that, how many clicks that campaign generated, how many leads it created. For example, company like Hyundai, an automotive client, is investing in lead generation campaign for test drives, and let's say the company invests 5,000 euros, and after 5,000 euros in a 1-month period, the Hyundai gets the result that for that budget, the company generated 1,000 leads for test drives. So, it is easy to understand the return on investment for that particular campaign. And it also allows you to understand your audience better, because, you might have one picture about your typical consumer and his decisions, but when you're running the programmatic campaigns, you're able to understand what kind of audience exactly is engaging in your ads. So that gives you much more better capabilities on controlling your advertising campaigns. It's also very transparent technology, because you're able to see all the associated costs. You're able to understand which publisher is more expensive than other, which publisher is better performing than other, and it gives you a chance to optimize the campaign and work only on those channels which are working with you, working well for your campaign, and avoiding others. And it also gives you a brand safety tools. So for example, if you have a negative news that we currently having a lot in these days, I mean, when we talk about COVID, for example, a lot of companies, we don't want to be associated with negative news and some negative keywords. So brand safety tools allows you, your brand, your company, to avoid being visible near some negative aspects like COVID, or some other negative news. If we're looking about the market trend, it's also we have to understand that the market is changing every year, and the trend is quite clear. Like if you're taking TV, for example, the TV audience is getting older and older. I mean, millennials and people up to 40, we do not watch TV that much anymore. So the audience which still watch TV in multiple markets is getting older and older. And everybody, almost everybody, they have a smartphone, and this is how people are getting their media. This is how they're reading their news. This is how they interact with the digital world, is through their mobile devices or desktop computers. And if you look at the statistics, almost 80% of people watch online videos every week. Like 80% of browsing population watch online videos every week, and almost 55% they do it every day. So that just give you a clear trend when, for example, when it comes to video ads, on this landscape. And if so, the question is, are you following the trends? Is your company following the trends? And almost 80% of all videos played is being done on mobile devices. So that's also a clear indicator that users are much more willing to spend their time on their mobile devices. So the question is, are you advertising on mobile devices? And also, I just want to clarify that if you will have any questions, so we will have some time for a Q&A session after that webinar. So, if something is not clear, so I will be happy to, give you more details after the webinar. So another aspect of global video digital spend, so that almost $27 billion is being spent on every year on digital video ads, and actually that number is increasing every year by 13%, and almost all majority of those ads is being done through programmatic. So again, is your company following the trends, or are you still investing in traditional inefficient, not the best ways to advertise for the audience? So ask yourself that. So this is kind of, we briefly talked about programmatic capabilities, what is all about, what are the benefits, what are some market trends, and right now I will highlight a skimmy programmatic capabilities, and you will have understanding how we are doing business and how we are bringing value to the company. So generally speaking, our solution consists of three big parts. So we have the traffic supply. So we as a platform, we are connected to more than 40 different ad exchanges, and through them we have ability to reach millions of websites in all over the world. And we're not reaching all the websites, but we also have apps which are being used by the user, apps like Viber, 9gag, most popular games. So there are multiple ways how you get in touch with your audience, not only on websites, not only on few websites in your market. Like a lot of companies thinking that if they will have an ad, let's say in the premium website in the particular market, they will be doing a good advertising campaign. But in many cases, it is not effective way of spending the budget, because it might be very expensive to be there, and maybe it's much more cheaper to reach the customer from one of your markets, which is visiting international website like bbc.com or any other, and try to reach him there, or maybe when he's using a Viber. So but you have to ask yourself, what is your goal? Is it an effective way of reaching an audience, or is just to thinking about that if you will stay in premium positions, that you will be reaching an audience in that way. So we have video channels as well. So there are multiple ways how we can get in touch with the audience. So the idea is of this part that we as a platform, we are connected to those ad networks, and that allows us to reach customer outside Facebook and Google through different publishers. The second part of the product is data, and I will show you some real examples of data that we have when it comes to targeting capabilities. But the idea is that usually in the markets, we have around 90% of browsing population in our database. So that allows us to target on multiple aspects: location, data consumption, and a lot of different aspects of it. And also that allows us to understand what is going on with your ad. What user was mostly engaging on your ads, what kind of aspect we can understand about him. I mean, if we see a user, we can see multiple aspects about him, and that will give you some additional insight about your consumer profile. But I will show you some examples a bit later. And lastly, another aspect of our solution is the visual part. So we very closely working with our clients, and in most cases we are helping to develop some creative solutions for the clients. And right now we are working the most innovative ways how we showing the products to the audience, and we support majority of type of ads. And just want to show you really quickly an example of just really quickly an example of one of the ads we did in Serbia market, which is in South Europe, for Coca-Cola as a client. So what we do actually usually is we're listening to the client needs. So Coca-Cola is always they are innovative in terms of visual. We always want to try something attractive. So we offered some rich media solutions for them. So the idea is that such banners, for example, they are the most popular dimensions, and they can be integrated on every publisher. And actually, those things are really eye-catching, and they really delivering great results. And the click-through rates are, in most cases when we talk about rich media, it's above 8%, and it's really something remarkable. Yeah, so getting back, so not only we can do some ads which users click and we go to the your website or some landing pages, but we also have some additional functionalities for that. So for example, as a reference, we were running campaign for Heineken, and Heineken is also a company which is kind of looking innovative ways how to reach the audience. And the idea was that I don't want to be specific about the market, but the idea was that users were seeing ads on their mobile devices based on their location to the nearest bar where we can get Heineken. And basically, when the users were clicking on the ad, immediately they will go into the map, Google Map, with exact location to the nearest bar. So it's not only about click and go to your website, but it's also about additional functionalities, click to chat. If we're talking about, for example, banking industry and lead generation, you can immediately start talking with your customer when it comes about potential client to a loan or any other aspect of it. So that's just some examples, but idea is that as I told you, we always listen to the client needs, and the goal is to provide full stack service. And we are very closely working, and we're always trying to understand what is the your situation in the market, how you are perceived by the market, what could be the possible angles, and what could be the possible strategy when it comes to digital advertising. And we are very closely and we are involved in this process. So just for you to understand how we do working with those clients. When it comes to the data, here are some examples from Greek market. Greece is quite a big market in South Europe, and in Greek we have more than 20 million users linked to our database, and basically that allows us to understand the market. And we have around 7 million one SIM devices, almost million multi-SIM audience devices, and a lot of various tablets and laptops. And when we understand, for example, when we talk about multi-SIM audience, device which has 2 or more SIM, we can identify top end pairs of the telecom operators in the market, for those particular users. And that gives us a new capabilities for targeting when it comes to the telco. So for example, just as a reference, in Greek, in Greece market, Cosmote and Vodafone are the top dominant pairs when it comes to telco operators in the market. And we can identify, for example, when Vodafone wants to launch a campaign, we can identify users who use their SIM card, but only as a secondary SIM card. And we can offer some data plan for those users, for example, and we might be willing to switch and start using Vodafone as their primary SIM card. So just an example. Also, when it comes to the telcos, we understand the market and we understand the migrations between the operators in real time. So for example, during some period, we tracked that in Greek market, almost 700,000 people, 700,000 users were migrating between one operator to another operator. So basically in each and every market that we are observing, there are a group of people which are constantly chasing, for the best deal, on the market when it comes to the data plan, or maybe, good mobile phone prices. So the idea is that we can identify switchers and target on those. So because those are the people who are, looking for the best deals. And we have case studies where we converted 30,000 users from one telecom operator to another in 30 days in some Middle East markets. So those targetings really work, and we have been working with the biggest telecoms in more than 20 markets. Also, when it comes to the data, we understand the market in terms of brand market share. And for example, in the Greek market, majority of users are Samsung users. Second place goes to Xiaomi, the third is Huawei. And basically, when Samsung launches a new phone, let's say, Samsung launches a flagship device, we can target users who has flagship device but maybe 1 or 2 years old. So maybe this audience is willing to switch, or maybe we can focus on certain Xiaomi users and highlight certain aspects of Samsung device for those Xiaomi users and try to win back to switch from Xiaomi to Samsung. So there are multiple techniques when you have ability to understand about your audience, you are able to adapt your marketing strategy, and that in general speaking brings positive results, because you're not targeting blindly. You already know what is going on and how to reach the potential customer. This is the same graph, but by different scale. So this is users by device price. So this is actually how we're building our socioeconomic class models. And usually in the market, we have around 6 or 7 of those different socioeconomic class models. So basically, if the user has expensive device, which is, costs $700 plus, mostly uses 4G network, so he stays mostly in urban areas, in cities, and consumes a lot of data, because our data management platform can spot users visiting different websites. The same user was spotted using different video channels. So basically, we assume that he has a big data plan. So this is a set of rules that predicts that he's a high-income user, lives in the city, has an expensive device, and consumes a lot of data. Of course, it's not 100% accurate, but it works on average. So this is how we're dividing socioeconomic classes. And when you want to reach a premium user, we can help you to do that. If you want to reach lower income class, we can help you to do that. And the idea is that we can try different audiences for one or for a particular product and find out which socioeconomic class is mostly working for you, for your particular product in particular market. Another targeting capability which programmatic allows is hyperlocal targeting. So as I told you, demand side platforms, they are connected to various ad exchanges. And some of those ad exchanges, they primarily working with apps, different apps, and those apps releasing GPS tags, when they're being used. So basically that allows us to determine quite accurately users' location, and it's much more accurate. This technology is much more accurate compared to IP targeting. So if you're talking about IP targeting, you're talking about city radius or, very big radiuses, but GPS targeting allows you to even target things like shopping malls, airports, and for example, if you want to target travelers, you can target and offer some data plans for them. If you're a telecom, you can geofence an airport and collect people who are spotted on the airport. So basically, people who are traveling and maybe interested in have like international calling options, or maybe you are automotive, industry player, and you're launching a new car, and we can geofence all of your competitors and collect the audience which is right now looking for new cars. So basically, there are multiple ways how geofence targeting can be utilized, and it's been working for FMCG clients, it's been working for retail stores, it's been working for automotive clients, for fast food chains. So there are multiple ways how to do it. So I'm just sharing some programmatic capabilities with you. Also, the recent technology that we implemented is footfall tracking. It's also related to hyperlocal targeting. So the idea is that we can understand how effective the campaign was, and it works with bigger budgets. But generally speaking, for example, you are a big retailer, and you're launching a programmatic campaign, and basically we can identify users who were engaged in your audience. I mean, people who saw your ad, clicked on your ad, and we can geofence all of your shopping areas and spot the people in your location. So basically, we can measure how people from online attribution saw your ad, went on your landing page, and later were spotted, let's say, in one of your shops or restaurants or hotels. So this is footfall tracking is kind of new technology, and we have already multiple case studies in multiple markets where we measure how the campaign was effective. And you will never have such capabilities with traditional channels. So that's the beauty of programmatic advertising. So generally speaking, this is some data sets that we are collecting during the processes. So it's data consumption. We can identify users who are visiting certain websites, and those websites can be linked to certain interests. Let's say if the users are frequently visiting sport-related channels or healthy lifestyle-related websites. So that's assumption that user is interested in those topics. So this is how we are able to target based on different interests. We are able to understand the device, socioeconomic class, location, the content which the user is frequently consuming, and actually there are more details, but this some generic ones. So for example, when we're launching the campaign and based on your on the briefs that we are receiving from agencies, from the clients, we are able to understand how potentially what will the potential audience will be for that particular campaign. If you're interested to reach people who are interested in traveling in multiple markets, we can calculate the potential reach. We can calculate and estimate the potential interest people who we can even calculate how many clicks you will get for that campaign. We can approximately calculate how many leads you will get for that campaign, or even sales. So it depends on your needs. If it's more about branding, and so that's one strategy. How if you more performance oriented client, more sales, immediate sales oriented client, so that's another strategy. So based on your information and on your needs, we are adapting to you and giving the insights for that particular campaign. So yeah, so this is just a screenshot from our dashboard. So basically, through our platform, companies are able to simultaneously run campaigns on programmatic channels, on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, on AdWords, on LinkedIn, and basically they can measure on the same time, what channel is most performing one, and basically that allows you to immediately divide, spend budget somewhere else on the better performing channel. If Facebook is not performing that well and programmatic is, better performing one, so you can immediately send the budget to programmatic, and that allows us you to do cross channel communication on one dashboard, and that saves a lot of time and basically just gives you a better results and functionalities. And when it comes to the brand safety tools, we are working with several of tools, and we also have our own tools, which helps to detect fraud. Basically, it's not a secret that sometimes publishers, they are delivering fake traffic in order to get revenue. So we're able to understand if such things are happening. We can even optimize campaigns based on viewability. So for example, we can make sure that your ads will be, very highly visible and viewable, let's say 70% viewability, 80% viewability. Of course, it might increase the price that you are willing to pay, but this is an option for some of the brands. And also we have ability to make sure that the brand is your brand is visible on safe environment without any aspects of a negative news. So this is generally speaking, some business, what we are doing, and I hope that you were able to get some useful insights about programmatic and our technology. So I would be happy to answer your questions. I saw that there are some questions, and if you just press Q&A button and just type it in, and I'm ready to answer. Yeah, I see that Monica already answered a few of those questions.
Yes, I did. Donatas, but maybe you can comment on, for example, about the content creation part. That as I know, we do not create content for the campaigns, but we do adapt them. Correct?
Yeah. I mean, we're not like production house company. So I mean, if you want to, have a video created, we are not the company for that. But for example, you have some materials, or you have an idea what what could be used on the banner. So basically, we can help you to develop by using our partners. And yeah. So for example, when I show you Coca-Cola ads, so those banners were created by us basically just by using some materials from Coca-Cola, and we were able to put everything together and make them interactable.
Great, thank you. So yes, most of the campaigns and examples of what we do, you can see on our website. Once you go inside, there is an option in the menu Creatives Gallery, and you will be able to see all the various banners that we can help you with and engage your audiences. I see that we don't have any more questions, but thank you for attending this webinar. Thank you so much, Donatas, for sharing a whole know-how of this. I believe it was a super insightful webinar for you today and for the audience. I do encourage you to follow us on social media, on LinkedIn and Facebook, because we do these type of webinars quite regularly now. Most of them are usually certification ones, but we also provide you with insights of what this programmatic advertising is. And we do discussions as well. So do follow us and you will always be up to date with what we are about to talk next. I see somebody wrote, I have a question. Then we will wait for you to write it down and we will be able to answer.
Yeah, and Monica, I believe that you will share some information that we were discussing today for the for the participants as well, right?
Yes, of course. After this webinar, do give some time. It won't happen in just a minute after the webinar because there are so many of you who have registered. But yes, the recording of this webinar and the presentation as well will be shared with you via email. So you will get all the content and you won't miss a thing of this, of what we had today. Um, Yes, we have a question for you actually, Donatas. Could you please help me with the types of audiences in Eskimi DSP?
Yeah, so it depends on the market. So in some markets we are very strong and we are able to work with different audiences. So it might be gender, location, age, various interest based. We can collect audience which is visiting particular websites, so that links to certain interests. We can collect audience which is when visiting your website or maybe the particular product of yours. So yeah, could you be more specific? Like maybe could you give me more information what audience you might be interested in?
The participant says that let's take UK as an example. So what type of audiences could be there? But I believe that all of this, what type of audience you would like to target, depends on your consumer profile of who you're trying to reach. What is the aim of the campaign as well? So uh, it's not really enough just to say that this is the market I'm trying to reach. If you can, please write more details. Uh, let's take an example of mobile brand launch in UK market. Any instance?
Yes, yeah, so it's the data examples are similar to those which I showed you for the Greek market. So basically, um, if you're talking about mobile brand, we can target based on multiple parameters like, the user's particular devices, the telecom that he or she is using. We can geofence certain areas, for example, and collect the audience, which might be visiting the particular location. So it really depends, but yeah, I mean, usually we have like interest-based capability for targeting. We have telecom targeting capabilities, device type targeting capabilities. We have ability to collect audience on different websites and retarget them later. We also have yeah. So this is, I believe, the most generic ones.
Yes. And one more question left for you. What should the budget be like? Can we have a clue, especially for us, an agency that works with clients? So, are there like averages? What budget is okay for a campaign?
Yeah. So there are, I have received some requests some time ago, with a very small budgets. And the point is that, at first when we're launching the campaign, we are trying to aim broadly because we don't understand it immediately what kind of, audience is the most performing one for the particular brand. So at first we are trying to target more broadly and testing different audience, testing different segments. And after that, we optimizing the campaign. So basically at first it will be at like testing phase. And after that, it will be more conversion based campaign. So my suggestion is to start with at least €1,000 for a 2 or 3 week period. Of course, it depends on the market, but €1,000 will give you some insights that you could take decisions further and already can generate some results.
Mhm. And not running away far from the budget topic, there is a question where the participant asks, is there a minimum budget?
Yeah, so I mean, we can launch a campaign for even smaller amounts, but if you require rich media development or creative development, so we ask that the budget would be at least €1,000 for that, and we won't be charging for helping you with creatives and running those campaigns. So basically, because we don't see the point, on working on smaller budgets and investing a lot of, because it just won't give you the results.
Okay. And if you don't mind, one last question
Sure.
also appeared in the Q&A box regarding the same question about audiences in different markets. The same participant is asking if, for example, we would like to launch a campaign for an FMCG brand in India. What would your audience suggestions be?
So for FMCG, usually the goal is to reach as many people as possible as cheaply as possible and in a, in a creative way, basically. So that's usually how Coca-Cola does that. So they have very good creatives, and that they targeting broadly, of course, with some exclusions for the negative news. And basically, the goal is to have a good CPM, low CPM, very good CPC, like cost per click, and make sure that the audience is engaged. So you have to work on creatives. But also, if you're talking about FMCG, you know, if, if it's for the particular product, maybe we can focus on certain uh, websites, let's say, which are linked to food, for example, or some healthy lifestyle orientated people. So it depends really. I have a colleague. She's working with India market, so I would be happy to get you in touch with her, and so we could discuss further. But India is our focus for some time, and we already launched multiple campaigns in India. So I believe we could tell you something in more details.
Yes, definitely. Dear participants, as we don't have any more questions, thank you so much again for taking the time of the day to join us on this webinar, and for your interesting questions that we were able to elaborate on. Like I mentioned before, we will be sharing the recording of this webinar and the content that Donata showed via email with all of you. If you have any questions, just reach out to Donatas and you will be able to answer them, or direct to the colleagues that will have the answers for you. And as I mentioned before, do follow us on social media, because we do share a lot of content about these webinars, about the know-how in ad tech. So I hope to see you in our future webinars. And once again, thank you very much. Thank you, Donatas.
Thank you, guys. Pleasure. Thank you for your time.